In this chapter, you will hear words like whole foods, plant based, and vegan. So, let me tell you very quickly the difference between whole foods, plant based, and vegan. Whole food means the foods which are not processed. Plant based may be plant in origin, no animal products in it, and no dairy products. But this may contain several of the processed foods like sugar or maida, which is also called refined wheat flour. And the last one is vegan. Vegan means it is really the part of the animal rights movement. It is about the animals and for the animals. However, a plant based diet is part of the vegan movement. So, sometimes when we use the word vegan diet, it really is a plant based diet.
Namaste. I'm Dr. Rupa Shah. Over the years, I have heard so many different dialogues from my diabetes patients.
मैं रेगुलर वर्कआउट करता हूँ, प्रोटीन काफ़ी खाता हूँ, फिट हूँ एकदम, फिर भी डायबिटीज़ कैसे हो गया? नहीं मालूम।
मैंने चिकन खाया, मटन खाया, अंडा खाया, मच्छी भी खाई, सब खा लिया, फिर भी डायबिटीज़ हो गई। कैसे?
डायबिटीज़ तो मुझे होने ही वाला है क्योंकि मेरे नाना नानी को था, घर में दादा दादी को भी था, मम्मी पापा को भी हो गया है, भाई को भी हुआ है, मेरा भी नंबर लगने वाला है।
डायबिटीज है तो क्या हुआ, दूध तो पी सकते हैं। दूध और डायबिटीज का कोई लेना देना नहीं है ना।
India is soon becoming diabetes capital of the world. We have millions of diabetes patients struggling, suffering, battling with this grave disease. Let me share with you what I found about diabetes, dairy, and the non-veg connection. It all started with me hearing for the first time that type 2 diabetes can be reversed. As a medical doctor, for 25 years, I definitely knew that diabetes cannot be reversed. You have to take medicine for rest of your life. You may have complications of diabetes, you may have to take insulin, but to say or declare that I am free of diabetes, not possible. Just like me, millions of doctors across the globe are also told the same. But here I heard for the first time that diabetes can be reversed provided you remove the cause of it. And in lacto-vegetarian, when they give up dairy products, you see tremendous improvement in their blood sugar. Diabetes goes into remission and then finally in reversal. How does this happen? Fortunately, Dr. Neil Bernard visited India more than 16 years ago. At that time, he gave talks in many medical colleges of India, and he has written a book called as Reversing Diabetes Program. I met him I read the book, and me and Dr. Nandita Shah started our first workshop on reversing diabetes in Mumbai. We had to look at our dietary patterns in India, what is on our plate, and why we Indians are getting diabetes. So, from American perspective, we had to change it to Indian situation. We changed the diet to the plant-based and low-fat, and preferably more and more whole foods. I still remember at the end of first workshop, we told all the participants that we will follow you up for next 30 days. And I distinctly remember there were 3 patients who had to completely stop their diabetes medicine just in 1 month. Someone had diabetes for 9 years, was taking medicine. Someone for 5 years, someone was heavy into exercise. And yet, the diabetes completely reversed in 1 month. This was a very overwhelming fact. Post that, we understood that yes, it's possible. It's happening. We also did 21-day retreat, and we saw there were 2 patients who could stop their insulin completely in 21 days. Some stopped their medication, and now the train started. Let's begin with a story of our patient, now no more patient, Vijay Joshi, who was suffering from type 2 diabetes for many years. He reversed it completely at that time. We revisited him to check what is happening to him. And let's hear how beautifully he's still thriving now, free of diabetes.
Namaskar, I am Vijay Joshi. I am an academician involved in teaching, research and practice. As far as my diet and lifestyle is concerned, well, I was born in a vegetarian family, so I was vegetarian and I used to love milk a lot. Actually, I need to also talk about the stimulus which helped me to give up milk and milk products. I was detected to have diabetes in September 2000. And the next day, when we visited the diabetologist, he just looked at those figures and then told me that, okay, you are having diabetes and hypertension. And then he gave his advice, but he also gave me one advice which said that, well, now you have to live with diabetes and hypertension. So make friendship with that. So I tried to follow the guidelines as much as possible and started taking the medicines. I was actually not much aware about diet, nutrition, lifestyle and all these things. But in 2009, Dr. Neil Bernard, who has done significant research work, published medical work on reversing diabetes, was in India. And I read his interview. And the title was "Diabetes is not one-way street." And he was a medical doctor. So for the first time, I was reading something by a medical doctor which said that, oh, it is possible to reverse. So I read his research, and one of the suggestions was to give up all animal products. And I spent some time, gave a thought, referred certain things, and finally decided to give up milk and milk products on my 60th birthday. And when after my initial head, Dr. Nandita Shah and Rupa Shah both insisted that I should now give up tea and also the sweetener. Well, when I understood what whole food plant-based diet is, and then I started implementing it. And all this actually started helping me significantly, and my doctor started reducing my tablets. In fact, when I did all these changes, I experienced hypoglycemia for for the first time. And then I called up my doctor and he said, okay, don't worry, don't allow it to happen again, but start reducing your tablet by half. Don't even consult me. So this was a great thing, a great impact on me, that whole food plant-based has such a power. So I got rid of my cholesterol. Now I was getting rid of my, slowly, my tablets for diabetes. So this was something which really helped me to continue with it and to study and learn more about whole food plant-based diet. Well, I got diabetes and hypertension in 2000. In 2009, I became plant-based and reversed it. Till today, that is October 2024, I have not got it back. So I am on the 8th floor.
You can age gracefully, beautifully, just like Vijay Joshi, free from diseases and living a very fruitful life. Now, I would like to introduce you Dr. Pramod Tripathi, who is the founder of Freedom from Diabetes. Dr. Tripathi has helped so many type 2 diabetes patients to reverse their diabetes just by going on plant-based diet.
मुश्किल होगा ये विश्वास करना कि एक डायबिटिक 15 चम्मच शुगर खाके ग्लूकोज टॉलरेंस टेस्ट ले और उसका शुगर लेवल 140 के पार न जाए, लेकिन ये सच है।
He has one of the largest database in the world. He has published many research papers in the peer-reviewed journals. Dr. Tripathi is going to explain you that though there are so many different names to various disease conditions that we suffer from, the root or the cause of all these is exactly the same. Let's hear him, how he explains to us.
One of the major reasons of dairy contributing to all these host of diseases, as we call them, there's something called as a hydra plant underwater. It's got 10 heads. You press one head, another head pops up, and you press the other head and the third head pops up, because internally all the 10 heads are connected. So is what I always recommend participants and families to look at: diabetes, obesity, hypertension, high cholesterol, hypothyroid, PCOD, heart attack, stroke, snoring, black necks, acanthosis, which is happening in young kids now a lot more. All of these are like 10 heads of the hydra plant. You try and press one with any one tablet. You try to have the hypertension tablet or the cholesterol tablet or the diabetes tablet. The other head is going to pop up after a few years. So some of them start with hypertension, some of them start with high cholesterol, some of them start with diabetes. But all of it is connected with high insulin inside the bloodstream, resultant of high insulin resistance. And one of the major reasons for insulin resistance rising is the IGF molecule coming from dairy. And now, because 14,000 plus people are free of medications with us, and many people go off insulin like in 2 weeks and 2 months and 3 months, very, very fast. I mean, we've got somebody who's off 240 units of insulin for the last 6 years also. So we see the dance and the drama of sugars responding extremely fast to change in diet, starting with dairy, stopping dairy. So it's very clear connection.
First of all, there are two types of diabetes. One is type 1 and one is type 2. In type 1, there is an actual deficiency of the hormone insulin, whereas type 2, which is the more common one, the insulin levels in the blood are normal or they are elevated, but the insulin is not working. Now, this phenomenon is called as insulin resistance. So, type 2 diabetes is caused by insulin resistance. Now, insulin resistance is not caused by carbohydrates, it is caused by excessive intracellular fat which is gumming up the insulin receptors. Which prevents the insulin from doing its action, that is to allow glucose from entering the cell. So, this results in elevated blood glucose and all the other effects of diabetes. Low fat plant based diet helps in rapid weight loss and also helps in clearing out the excess intracellular fat and allows the insulin to work again. And this we see reliably in patients who have been put on a plant-based diet where meds get better, and very often diabetes, if it's not very chronic, type 2 diabetes can get reversed on a plant-based diet.
I was diagnosed for diabetes and other health issues, and I had to be on medications for almost a decade. But when I came to know giving up dairy products would help, I gave them up overnight. And within a span of 4-5 months, all my health issues were resolved and I became medicine free. In fact, this is not cow's milk. This is almond milk, plant-based. And the sweetness in my life had vanished when I was a diabetic. It's back again now. I can enjoy everything.
Diet is helping the patients by reducing their blood sugar levels. Small kids who are in type 1 diabetes. In type 1 diabetes, you cannot stop the insulin by following whole food plant-based diet. But yes, you can reduce the dose. The children who were on 40-50 units of insulin by following whole food plant-based diet has reduced to 3 or 4. One patient was there, 3 or 4 years kid was that came to us with 500 sugar. That was some senior endocrinologist has labeled him type 1 diabetes. So we told them only one thing, just you don't give milk to this patient for 3 days. Just follow for 3 days, then we'll see. After 3 days, the blood sugar levels without insulin came back to normal. Cow's milk has caused the sugar to shoot up to 500. And he was put on insulin by somebody else. So we removed milk from his diet, and he was very much his sugars reduced, and there was no need for insulin. But otherwise, those who are labeled type 1 diabetes, we cannot stop the insulin, but yes, we can reduce the dose. And type 2 diabetes who are early detected, and if that people follow whole food plant-based diet, that can help to stop the medication also.
In 2013, my diabetes was uncontrollable and it was just not coming under control with any kind of medication and diet and everything. And the doctor said that I would have to be hospitalized because not only was my sugar very high, like my fasting sugars would be around 300, 350. My post lunch sugars would be 500, 550. And my weight at that time was almost 100 kilos. So I think because of that and because my BP was very high, it used to be 210 by 110. And the doctor said only two things can happen to you, lady. Either you'll get a stroke or you'll get a heart attack. And I didn't want both. I had severe hypothyroidism also. And once I went organic, I started eating organic, whole food, plant based, and all three of them went. I lost about 30 kilos during my journey that time, and I started running the marathons. That was the high point in my life where I couldn't even walk 100 meters without getting breathless and getting asthmatic and whatever. And now I was running 21 and on an average every day of 5 to 7 to 8 kilometers a day. So for me, this was changing my life. It was a life changing experience.
Almost all animal products, including dairy and non-veg, this fat is of the bad kind, that is saturated fat and cholesterol, and this causes increased accumulation of fat inside cells of the muscles and the liver, causing lipotoxicity and prevention of insulin action. Hence, stopping dairy and non-veg helps a lot in improvement and reversal of type 2 diabetes.
So this is just a simple journey of a patient who man who simply reversed this sugar with simple parhej, right? You can see he sugar levels was 600 on 22 of June 2021. He came to me on 23rd of June 2021 and his sugar levels were around 490. I gave him at that moment, because this is an emergency, I gave him allopathic medicine and told him to do the diet changes. And you can see in these slips slowly that his sugars levels went down to 101, 141. And I thought your sugars are really going down, so you need to reduce your medicine. And slowly, you see his medicines were removed. This is not a medicine, this is just Indian barberry I gave him, and some multivitamins, and his sugar levels were only 90 by the end of August 2021. Within 2 months, this reversal is happening. And then he was put on Indian barberry, that's all. and 103 sugars. And today, after 2 years, yesterday he came, and his sugars are still on 103. He has literally reversed his diabetes, and he's not on any kind of medication.
He gave him a diet chart also. We followed that diet chart properly. And he said us to record I have the record also of the sugar. Every day, 5 times he said to record the sugar at home. We record it in a day for 5 times. And you can see a gradual improvement in that. It's in my hand. It was just to avoid some sugar foods, and to add some more fruits in that. And milk was totally banned.
पहले से नैदी जैसे वो मैं उसके बाद डायबिटिक के बाद थोड़ा सा लगा था कि हाँ बहुत ज़्यादा वीक हो गया। उसके बाद जो जैसे डाइट प्लान चेंज किया और डॉक्टर साहब ने मेरे को जैसे जैसे जो डाइट प्लान दिया प्रॉपर मैंने वो फॉलो किया। डॉक्टर साहब के रेगुलर टच में रहा मैं इतना ज़्यादा। कुछ डॉक्टर साहब भी मेरे लिए थोड़े से कॉन्शियस है और मेरे को लाइफ पार्टनर ऐसी मिली हुई है जो मेरे लिए बहुत ज़्यादा कॉन्शियस है। तो जल्दी ही रिकवर गया मैं अपना डाइट प्लान।
Within 2 months, he recovered properly.
My HbA1c sugar was around 6.2, 6.5 with medicine. After I started the journey, the second day I have to stop the medicine. Because my sugar started going low with the medicine. They said stop the medicine. And now after 6 months, my HbA1c is 6 without medicine. So I have already come out of the medicine on the second day itself. And my HbA1c is steady at 6. And I have reduced my weight from, I was 79, I was normally. Now I'm 69. And maintaining it for last 3 months at 69, 70. So first 3 months the reduction happens. After that it becomes steady.
The common myth that masses have is that you get diabetes because of sugar. It's not that बहुत sweet खाया इसीलिए diabetes हुआ. Because there are many who have hardly eaten any sweets and yet they get diabetes. The real cause of diabetes is unhealthy fats in our diet. Let's hear some doctors explaining you this very clearly.
So, when someone gets diabetes, they go to the doctor and doctor tells them to cut down sugar and cut down carbohydrates. And most of us think that diabetes is a disease of sugar, and so we should cut down sugar. And carbohydrates break down into sugar, but it's not true. Diabetes is caused by insulin resistance, and the result of diabetes is high blood sugar. So if we really want to get rid of diabetes, we should remove the insulin resistance. And the main cause of insulin resistance is fat in the muscle cells. And so if we reduce the fat intake and increase the fiber intake, because I told you that fiber holds on to fat, then we can reverse diabetes. If you cut down sugar and cut down carbohydrates, you can never reverse diabetes, right? Most people who have diabetes don't take sugar, but they don't get cured. Most cases of diabetes, when you first get diabetes, if you start acting, you definitely can recover.
People have had the experience of lowering their glucose just by giving up fat in the diet. And it's not at all difficult for an Indian, because you can have your dosa, your idli and your chutney without a drop of oil. You can have your sambar, you can have your rice, you can have all your veggies made without a drop of oil. So it's not difficult at all. You can eat whatever you're eating, but of course you can give up on a little bit of rice, but eat millets. In Karnataka, we eat a lot of ragi, which is called nachni. It's high on iron, and it has slightly low glycemic index compared to rice. So I recommend my patients to eat millets instead of rice, or even brown rice, or even the wheat.
So I have a nice array of what you might think are mildly healthy or even vegan snacks, but we really want you to concentrate on whole food, meaning non-processed, plant-based, of course, so no animal products. So I'm going to show you something you can substitute for each of these, hopefully that you can easily find and is very inexpensive. So let's start out with good old maida. As easy as it is to find and use, unfortunately, it is one of the biggest culprits in worsening and or developing type 2 diabetes. So let's see, what can you do instead of maida? A simple substitution, which is really easy to find in India, is ragi flour. You can make chapatis, you can make parathas, you can make even more Western dishes like pancakes and breads out of ragi flour. This little container here, which contains cream-filled biscuits. Well, they are plant-based, but they're most certainly not whole food. They're very highly processed and full of a lot of processed sugar. So just a big point that we all want to drive home is you should be whole food plant-based, a whole food plant-based vegan. You can be vegan but still eat processed foods. If you're whole food plant-based, then that's the path you want to follow, and that's when you'll see your diseases go away or hopefully never start in the first place. Easy to find is fruit. We prefer apple because it has a sugary taste, but it also has a lot of fiber. Fiber is, as a side note, something that we really emphasize on a whole food plant-based diet, and probably one of the most important parts of it. When you have more fiber, it acts like a broom in your intestines, and it takes the excess sugar and excess oils with it, and a lot of some of the bad preservatives, etc. So more fiber, less sugar gets absorbed, and less chance of diabetes or less chance of your sugar spiking up if you have diabetes. Moving on to these lovely appearing cheese-covered chips. But what can we do instead of this that you can reach for in the pantry instead of these? So again, going back to on the millet train, there's so many nice millets in India and lots of relatively healthy options if you want to reach into a bag of chips. So these are, again, ragi chips. They're baked, not fried, so much less, not any oil at all. It's made with a whole grain instead of maida. There's no animal product, meaning no cheese powder on top of it. And finally, down at the end here, this chocolate coffee biscuit. I'm here to tell you that you can have chocolate, but I would rather you have nice, whole dark chocolate. You're getting the added benefits of dark chocolate in itself. Polyphenols, antioxidants protect against free radicals, which can cause cancer and other diseases such as autoimmune diseases. So believe it or not, a little bit of whole food plant-based chocolate a day will keep us away. And finally, just some other easy substitutes, good snacks you can keep at home that are friendly for the whole family. Another good substitute to put in your tiffin for work or your children's lunch tiffin is a granola bar or a protein bar. I do caution you, please read the labels because a lot of these will have added whey protein in them. Whey protein is, of course, an animal source, and we don't want to put that into our bodies. But more from the fiber chain, dry fruits like walnuts and almonds. Just a small handful will fill you up for several hours. And finally, good old just chopped raw vegetables. Cucumber, carrot, beetroot, radish, any of these are delicious. There's a term called as metabolic syndrome X. It is also called as insulin resistance syndrome. What exactly is this insulin resistance? Let Dr. Pramod Tripathi explain to us.
Milk and milk products, if you take that category as such, Besides many issues that it has, one of the major things is them containing a molecule called as IGF, insulin-like growth factor. The natural insulin in the body is not able to attach itself to that receptor and open up the receptor so that glucose can go in. And because glucose can't go in, the body secretes more insulin. And more insulin itself is the biggest problem in the body today in every family. Because of this resistance to insulin and increased insulin, we are having overweight because insulin kind of holds sugar, water, and fat, all of it together. It will stimulate the sympathetic nervous system and increase the blood pressure. It will go to the liver and create fatty liver, deposit more fat in the liver. It will make the liver produce more cholesterol. It will interfere with the liver enzymes such that the active hormone of thyroid is not getting converted properly, so hypothyroid will happen. It will interfere with reproductive hormones, creating PCOD, erectile dysfunctions, and others. It can also create sleep apnea and snoring and acidity. And major thing is deposition of plaques or increase of plaques in the heart arteries, brain arteries, thereby increasing heart attack and strokes.
If you just look at the muscle of any animal, roughly, I'm not talking about weight-wise, I'm talking about calorie-wise. Roughly I believe more than 1/3 of the calories from the meat comes from saturated fat. And guess what happens to saturated fats? They cause heart disease, but believe it or not, even in diabetes, what ends up happening is because it's fat, it goes into your cells, and the cells don't allow proper interaction with the insulin molecule to allow the glucose to go in. So therefore, the fat that is sitting there, is one of the primary causes of type 2 diabetes. And speaking of meat, what ends up happening a lot of times with people is that they feel that they have to have chicken or some kind of a meat to provide for their protein. And unfortunately, when they are eating that meat, a piece of muscle or meat, there's a passenger that's sitting there, which is saturated fats, right? So you don't want that saturated fats to go in and gunk up your entire mechanism for your insulin and glucose metabolism. So they can easily avoid that by switching to a plant-based protein. Just have rajma, chana, black beans, chole, dal, broccoli, any of the root vegetables have plenty of protein that can be useful.
Every diabetes patient knows the course of the disease. It's a slow, sweet killer, slowly killing you, with so many other organs failing. Retinopathy, blindness, both the kidneys failing, dialysis. You have gangrene, you have to amputate a toe, maybe a skin disease, maybe heart disease. Very scary picture. Can something be done about the complications of diabetes? Let's find out what experts are saying on this.
I can say that I see a tremendous number of people with very serious diseases coming to the emergency department over and over again that obviously could improve with a whole food, low fat, plant-based diet. I see people with tremendous obesity and then related cancers, fatty liver disease, diabetes type 2, the complications of diabetes type 2 in terms of retinopathy, kidney disease, and peripheral vascular disease, diabetic limbs, sometimes leading to amputations and infections in their feet, etc., and all kinds of things. I see heart disease many times in young people. I see people who are obese and overweight and can't walk properly and eventually have to use, machines and walkers and things like that very prematurely, right? And again, these are, and the other thing that I see that's very devastating, again, related to diet, is dementia, right? We see people with dementia, you do CT scan of their head, you see the vascular disease, evidence of this on the CT scan. The radiologists always comment on this too. And these are things that can be certainly prevented, by a whole food plant-based diet. Doesn't mean, again, 100% prevention. In some cases, you might get 100% prevention, but in other cases, you would just see a great improvement. For that person's age, they could have a much better brain health, for example. Okay. So I see these things over and over again, and I feel kind of helpless in many cases where I'm seeing people at the end stage of their suffering or at an advanced stage of their suffering, whereas all of this could have been prevented. And I don't like to see people suffer.
Diabetes and blood pressure can cause diabetic and hypertensive retinopathy and also result in vascular occlusions in the retina as well as in the optic nerve. And by improving diabetes and blood pressure and sometimes even reversing them on a whole food plant based diet, we can avoid these complications and avoid visual loss. Also, diabetes tends to cause early cataracts. The incidence can be decreased on a plant based diet.
I'll mention one patient in particular. He had a very unusual orbital inflammatory disease. Now, orbit is the area around the eyeball. The eyeball is encased in a bony cavity, right? So, orbit is the space around, and this is not an empty space. It is filled with fat, nerves, eye muscles that help to move the eye in different directions, and arteries. So, it's a very compact space. So, there is an entity called orbital inflammatory disease, wherein some inflammation will affect commonly one of these muscles, and the muscle will swell up. So, along with that example, if the upper muscles are swollen, the eyelid also swells up. So, these patients often we have to give them steroids. At times, it also forms masses in the eye. So, we have to take care of it in different ways. So, I have a patient who is a high official in the government, and he came with a massive swelling. And he was responding properly to steroids at all. So I looked at his blood reports and his sugars were over the roof. The post-lunch sugars were about 300. And of course, he was not maintaining a good diet and his creatinine was borderline. It was just on the verge of becoming above normal. And his wife was quite tired of having him shift to a certain diet. So, of course, I started him on treatment, and in 1 or 2 visits, he was significantly better. That built in trust. So, that is the point. I got hold of him and shifted him on a plant based diet. I told him, at home, your chapati, your rice, bhakri, vegetables, eat. It's perfectly okay to have as many fruits, vegetables you want. In fact, I didn't restrict him. I didn't even tell him, eat only 2 chapatis or 2 bhakris, nothing. More importantly, I feel with patients it's important to tell them what to avoid and tell them with this good diet you eat as much as you want. It's a good thing to say at the initial visit, You're not restricting their intake, but you're just shifting the intake into healthy, non-inflammatory items. So in 2 months, he returned back. Not only was his eye perfectly normal, the orbit inflammation was 0. He had reduced 8 kilos in 2 months. For diabetes, he was on 3 tablets, shifted to 1. His HbA1c from 8 went to 5, 5.3 or something. Massive, massive difference. I mean, I have very rarely seen such a dramatic transformation. Some patients have these changes gradually, but with him, it worked dramatically. His entire posture had changed. He was walking erect. He had more energy. He had taken up more projects to work. And his wife was so happy. His daughter came to meet me. It was almost like they had a new father, So that was one of the most dramatic stories I've had.
While interacting with so many individuals, there's one dialogue that I often hear. Hey doc, you know what? Everybody in the family has diabetes. My dada already had it. My father is having it. My sister already got it now. It's going to be soon me. There is no escape. मुझे भी डायबिटीज होना ही है. क्या फायदा? Really, is that the fact? Let's find out from some of our doctors.
Yeah, you know, that's a common concern people have that this is genetic. There's nothing I can do about it. But here's the good news. It's not genetic. It is true that diabetes tends to cluster in families and maybe high blood pressure does. And maybe there is some genetic component, but a greater reason it clusters is that family members share the same diet and lifestyle. So it's really changing that can change how well these genes are expressed. So genes are just a small part of the equation. The bigger part really is our diet and lifestyle.
The number one misconception is this is born into my destiny and I can't do anything about it. No, diabetes is not your destiny. Diabetes is decided by your dinner. That's something I like to say. Because the food that you eat plays a much more significant role in deciding whether you develop a lifestyle disease than the genes that you're born with. Like, even if everyone in your family has diabetes, hypertension, heart disease, is obese, even then, you still have a chance to skip these diseases, avoid them altogether if you're following a healthy enough lifestyle. And yes, it's not 100%. It's not foolproof. It's not like if you eat whole food plant-based, guaranteed you'll never fall sick. No, it doesn't work that way. No, we're all mortal beings. One day we need to go. But do you want to go early or late? Do you want to live healthy or live sick? Do you want to live in pain or be comfortable? No, pain-free. That's a decision that's largely in our hands. 70 to 90% of that risk is in our hands.
Yay! Very good. Very good. Yay! My sugar was 400. So I was shocked and I was scared also from inside because my father had diabetes, my mother had diabetes, both had died due to complications of diabetes, and my two sisters, they also died due to complications of diabetes. Now my brother is there and I am there, and we are also diabetics. And he is 84 plus, and I am now 73, entering into 74. So that fear was there. So I started going to the doctor. But every visit after 6 months or 1 year, they will increase, saying that I still not come down, still not come down. So I had no idea. But somehow in the month of 2020, mid 2020, I came across this whole food plant-based concept. And I was under supervision of a doctor and did very well. I followed them to the T, to the extent that my HbA1c, which was around 9, came down to 6.4. Today, this month, it is 6.2. And my fasting sugar, which used to be 160 plus, today it is in the range of 130. And my post-lunch or post-dinner sugars, which used to be 240, 260, today it doesn't go beyond 140. So my belief increased and I'm doing very fine because of whole food plant-based. When I went into whole food plant-based, they told me to avoid 3 things: dairy, non-veg and sugar. And that was the turning point. The results were excellent and my sugars came down, HbA1c came down. I was feeling much better, much energetic. Very good, very good. Very good, very good. Yay. Now take a deep breath. Laugh loud.
If you're trying to reverse your diabetes, the first thing that you need to do as a non-vegetarian is to give up meat, chicken, fish, and eggs. And this is another very favorite shop of Indians. That's our dairy shop. This shop sells milk, curd, butter, ice cream, cheese, milkshakes, you name it, and it's there with various taste, varieties, colors, and neatly packed. These foods, we consume them without knowing what it does to our body. Well, the dairy is for the baby calf or for every mammal produces milk for their young ones. So dairy is suitable for them. Here we have so many different milk sweets that are made. You can see them in display, plenty of varieties. Because they have them, we seem to be eating it. Those who are reversing their diabetes, all the dairies, sweets, definitely no. Even if some of them have no sugar in it, you still don't have that. As you can see that this is a very busy shop. Almost every town has one bakery shop. This is also one such, which is making bread, mostly using maida. And also they have biscuits, and they have toast, they have cookies, they have all kinds of pita breads. And it is another major source of processed foods and also unhealthy fats in our diet. If you are in the process of reversing diabetes, think about giving up processed foods, oil, salt, and sugar. I'm standing at one of the most famous banana wafer shop with all these chaklis and other things also in offer. And he was freshly making it over here. You can see how he's making. But where is the unhealthy fat? It's right in the pan that's frying the chips. Think about unhealthy fats in your diet. One of the source is this. These kind of shops are everywhere now, all across India, with shelf full of so many different varieties of snacks that we all eat. There are high protein, there are low fat, they are neatly packed with maybe a shelf life written on it, and tasty. If you are now ready to take up a challenge to want to reverse your type 2 diabetes, first and foremost advises to take help of a qualified medical doctor who also knows about the benefits of plant-based diet. Because what I have observed that the blood sugar drops very quickly as 12 hours of you implementing the plant-based diet. We don't want you to have low sugar attacks and have some kind of mishap that can happen while your medication is going on. Maybe you are on insulin and you're also on a plant-based diet. You heard it all. You see, these are the most important tips that I would like to give you. Get off all the animal products. Get off all the dairy products. Start introducing fresh, green, organic, leafy vegetables, fruits, all plant-based, healthy, whole food platter to eat every day. Take care of your exercise, your sleep and stress levels, and interpersonal relationship. Get ready to do a 30-day challenge. You will know it for yourself, what brings up your sugar and what brings down your sugar. And your journey will begin for sure.
First year when I became vegan, and we actually calculated in a year for all the doctor's visits, for all the tests that we used to do, for all the medication that I was having, for the MRIs and whatever CT scans and God knows what all they make you do. We were spending 1,50,000 per year, which came down to half because I didn't need to go to the doctors anymore. I didn't need those 100 types of blood tests and CT scans and all that. And as I started losing weight, I started healing myself from all those diseases. It was even better.
The typical sequence of somebody diagnosed with type 2 diabetes, let's say if they're given one dose of something, like metformin or something to, increase insulin sensitivity. After some time, that stops working. They have to take additional dose, right? And then after some time, that stops working. After a few months, the doctor adds some more of their similar medication. And as a result, the dosage keeps increasing, the insulin sensitivity keeps dropping because you're not doing anything about the way you can reduce the diabetic effects. Is ultimately you land up taking insulin shots, and when you're taking insulin shots, you have these patches. It looks horrible on your body where you have these fatty patches and so on. So these are depressing things for people. So moving towards an alternative that will actually cure you from type 2 diabetes is the way to go, right? These medications don't really help truly get rid of the disease, in this case type 2 diabetes. It just kind of like prolongs the agony, if you will, and there is no easy way out. If you keep popping the pill, there is no easy way out of it. The medications also have side effects. In some cases, for example, in certain type 2 diabetes medication will make you increase weight. And when you increase weight, you increase fat usually, and fat causes diabetes. So it's like a vicious cycle that you go into. So, you really don't want to get into that. A lot of times what happens is now, instead of having 3 tablets, you have an array of tablets. You have to take these today, these tomorrow, this in the afternoon, this in the night, and a sequence of things that you have to do. You have to avoid certain foods. You have to constantly watch what you're doing, how you're socializing. Accidentally somebody gives you something, spikes your blood sugar, is not good. So now you get into a depressive state that why am I living like this? And you start thinking about committing suicide.
And my journey till then was a tough one. In fact, a lot of medicines, and every month or so, I would be visiting some doctor or the other for my treatments. I had this uveitis also. I am diabetic and high cholesterol and inflammation, blood inflammation. Basically, that would cause a lot of pain in the body. So I was taking bunch of a handful of medicines, in fact. So someday later, once I was fed up of these medicines, and I told my husband that there should be some solution for this, or I should quit the world. I went to that extent, in fact. I didn't want to continue with so much of medicines and their side effects and everything. So it was then he actually we made our search, and my husband started to search about the whole food plant-based diet as the doctor suggested to follow, that I would reverse or anything, as the second days of my husband came out of the medicine. But for me, it took quite 3 months to taper the dosage actually. But then I gained confidence in those 3 months. Like I understood, yes, my body is responding to certain kind of diet and lifestyle, and it's not the body alone that has changed. It's my mind, my views, and in fact, it's a holistic development in these 6 months of journey. Now it was earlier it was 10.2. Then at the time when I joined,
It was somewhere around 9.2 or something, or 10.2, I don't remember. Now it is 5.8 non-diabetic level. 6 months reading, 5.8 non-diabetic. And that's how, today I could sit, there is no pain, no body pain. Even nowadays, I just participated one marathon also, 10K I did, without any pain. Earlier, even walking 1 kilometer would cause severe body pain. You believe me, this 10K, when I returned back, there was no pain at all. So that's the wonderful change in it's a transformation, in fact.
What an inspiring episode 2 with so many lifestyle related diseases which we take for granted. Millions of people think that they have to take medications for life. हमें इसके साथ ही जीना है और इसके साथ ही मरना है. But now, just by taking one decision, one simple decision of giving up non-vegetarian and dairy products, you can actually come out of all these troubles, all this suffering, live a life of freedom, joy, and peace. Let your inner doctor work for you by you choosing just one thing of giving up non-vegetarian and dairy products. Let's celebrate plant-based food. Let's celebrate the right foods. Let's celebrate good health. Let's celebrate a life free of diseases and medications. As we celebrate all of this, we gift ourselves life, a better life.